So you know, in some, we have our work cut out for us, but this is really interesting work. And I was very excited to hear just a little bit of your conversation. And I look forward to hearing more as we move on to the next panel. And I'm happy to, you know, respond to any questions you might have for me. So thank you. How are we doing on?
We're over. You want honest? You want honest?
We're over. Okay.
But you know what? But not so over. Then we'll take a couple of comments, and then we'll see what we'll do with them.
All right.
And I'll take one from some of the Balabatin first. All right.
Aaron Vardy, Open Tutor Project. I'm very curious to know how the licensing of older media at the time that they were becoming established, either democratized or limited access, made proprietary engagement that used to be open.
Hold that question.
Okay.
All right. The licensing. Just another topic. Anandio.
Hi, I'm Lori Foreman-Jacoby, and I wanted to ask you, you said you...
Doesn't help if you walk away.
Yeah. You are speaking to Thank you so much. You talked about, you know, virtual relationships and then face-to-face relationships, and I work in an environment with teenagers, and I think face-to-face relationships are still very, very important. So I'm wondering, you just mentioned a little bit, if you can expand on that, and how to maintain those connections.
All right, so we've completed the ritual of getting at least questions from the audience, and now it's your turn to wrap this up. You've got the proprietary question, you've got the virtual versus real contact question, and take all the time you want for the next 2 minutes.
Okay, so very quickly, like the proprietary, it's very recent in history that that's been an issue. If you think about the history of, you know, producing printed culture. And what I find interesting is the extent to which there is a gray area, and especially in new media, the whole question of fair use, which as a scholar, you know, I have had defined for me both very narrowly and very liberally by different book publishers, you know, let alone internet publishers. This is a site of negotiation right now, and you know, I think there's you know, that's the way it has to be entered into as an enterprise of experimentation and negotiation. And I've worked on a couple of projects where we put things online and wait and see what happens, and if we're told to take it down, we take it down. And the responses are anything but consistent, because the notion of what is acceptable, and especially in a new medium, where the sense of the possible is read quite you know, divergently by people. The face-to-face versus the virtual, one of the things I'm sort of intrigued by is hearing about the discovery of younger people about the limitations of the virtual, including a report not too long ago about somebody, you know, 20-something who was giving up on Facebook because she spent so much time on Facebook and, you know, keeping up with her friend virtually, that when she actually got together with them, they had nothing to talk about. Because the things you would normally say, like, did you see the latest movies, you know who's going out with whom, whatever, they knew already. And I think that the discovery of the interrelation is something that that needs attention. And my sense is that, like social relations generally in the face-to-face world we're familiar with, it's not the same for everybody. Some people are going to be much more comfortable in the virtual world, and that might not necessarily be a bad thing, especially for people for whom that provides a kind of way of engagement that face-to-face doesn't. And certainly in terms of teaching, it's a big question, as you know, the virtual classroom becoming something that we're all now being told we should expect to have to learn how to deal with, you know, how that's going to change the way we teach. As most of my colleagues, we think face-to-face is really important, even though we have many students who are in the room in what looks to us as a very, passive way. Sometimes we're right, and sometimes actually there's a lot going on, but it's all inside. It's clearly something that I think needs to be, considered with nuance as a part of the range of personalities and their sense of comfort. And I think actually ultimately it can enhance the range of engagements. We'll see what happens, won't we? All right, Emma.
Thank you. Thank you. My one comment about this is that Jeff did what good social scientists always do, and that is to try to provide a larger context than to remind us that our own experience is but part of a larger tapestry in which there are many sources of resemblance. Those of us who go through that experience engage in a dialogue. We say, well, if we're just like other things, then how are we different? And there's this ongoing dialogue of between belonging and identity. And so on the one hand, you brought us in touch with the history and the fullness of the patterns of similarity. And on the other hand, it says, yeah, but we're different. And I'm sure you're not saying, you're not saying, oh, no, but you're no different. It's if we can appreciate the continuity, we can also understand the matters of, I would say, our own contemporary individual identity. And it enriches the identity if we understand our continuities.
And actually, it is different because this is our struggle now. It's not a historic issue. It's the struggle we face. And that gives it, from earlier examples because they're played out. Or they're still playing, but they've been playing for, in some cases, centuries.
Right.
This is the one.
This is the now. This is 2010. Is that so and so on? So on that, I do want to thank you very much for enriching our experience, and call upon the next the next panel